That the Chinese government goes about lending out massive loans to developing African countries is not a new topic, nor is it a recent development. We have heard about how it occurred in several countries, such as the Congo, Sudan, Ethiopia, Nigeria, Zambia, and a few others. Recently, the US and some European countries have been calling out and speaking against these loans and how it's indirectly a debt trap diplomacy that China is using to coax Africa and the large infrastructure projects they are building in these countries. Welcome to Savvy Economist. In this video, we will examine the allegation of debt trap on China. How true is this allegation? Is China truly pushing African countries into a debt trap? We will discuss this in this video, but before we continue, take a minute to click the red subscribe button, and don't forget to please like and share this video if you enjoy it. Also, watch till the end, leave your comments and thoughts below. Having done that, let's jump right into the video. Before we go into further discussion, let's first understand the real meaning of debt trap diplomacy, a phrase created by Indian professor Brahma Chellaney. Debt trap diplomacy is an international financial connection when a creditor country or organization lends debt to a borrowing nation wholly or partially to give the lender more political clout. Sometimes, the borrowed funds are used to hire workers and purchase supplies from the creditor nation. And sometimes, it comes as cash. When a debtor country cannot pay back or make its repayment commitments, the creditor country is considered to have given it an excessive amount of credit to obtain political or economic concessions from it. One of the negative features of this debt trap diplomacy and why many consider it canny or a trap is that the terms and conditions of the loans are frequently kept a secret. It's more like you're entering into a business deal and all the conditions are not explicit but only become explicit when things go wrong or you intend to opt out of it. How many countries are owing China? Over the decades, China has gradually made itself one of the biggest single creditors in the world for both low and middle developing countries. As of 2020, it said that its loans to low and middle-income 97 countries have tripled over the previous 10 years, reaching above $170 billion, £125 billion. Between 2000 and 2017, China financed a total of $143 billion to African governments and state-owned businesses. This includes Angola, which borrowed about $36.3 billion, Ethiopia, about $13.5 billion, and the Republic of the Congo, about $7.3 billion, Sudan $6.4 billion, Zambia about $7.4 billion, Kenya $7.4 billion, Nigeria $3.56 billion, and Sri Lanka $6.8 billion. These figures were from the year 2020. However, many experts claim that many of these figures were more than the amount recorded in the year 2020. And this year, many new countries are jumping into the same wagon, borrowing more from China. And even some African countries owning China are still borrowing more without repayment. How many countries have repaid China's loan? No debt-owning country had fully repaid its loan to China as of when this video was recorded. In fact, according to a study by the Green Finance and Development Center at Fudan University in Shanghai in March 2022, about 68 countries will together pay $52.8 billion in debt payments this year, 2022. The analysis predicts that more than a quarter of it will flow to China, as Beijing is one of the biggest lenders to developing countries. How true is this allegation? We can't say if the debt trap allegation is true, but why many have been accusing China is because it seems it has been targeting small developing countries desperately in need of growth to meet the standard of developed countries. Moreover, Chinese loans to developing countries have longer repayment terms and higher interest rates than bilateral loans from Paris Club countries or international organizations like the International Monetary Fund or the World Bank. Though this depends on the country, Chinese concessional loans have interest rates of 2.5% per annum, a term of 20 years, and a grace period, moratorium, of 7 years. Also, these loans seem fishy because China's government prefers to support relatively particular infrastructure projects rather than pursuing more general developmental aims, as the International Monetary Fund or the World Bank does. And their arrangement is more similar to commercial loans in terms of payback and is highly confidential. Some say China prefers to finance infrastructure projects to indirectly gain from it in the long term. This allegation might be wrong or right, it hasn't been proved yet, but looking at the case between China and Sri Lanka, many things seem indistinct. So, what actually happened? China loans and its controversies with debtor infrastructures. Years ago, Sri Lanka started a significant port project in Hambantota with Chinese money years ago. However, the $1 billion project, which relied on Chinese funds and contractors, was dogged by controversy and struggled to be financially sustainable, leaving Sri Lanka with mounting debt. In exchange for additional Chinese investment, Sri Lanka finally consented in 2017 to provide state-owned China merchants a controlling 70% share in the port on a 99-year lease. To make it clearer, Sri Lanka granted China a long-term lease on 15,000 acres of land and the Hambantota harbor. However, some critics emphasize that a significant amount of Sri Lanka's total debt was owed to non-Chinese lenders and that there is no proof that China has used the port as a means of gaining a strategic military advantage. However, this does not stop with Sri Lanka. In 2021, there was news flying around that Uganda was experiencing its worst national crisis after being compelled to hand over its sole international airport to China as a result of its failure to repay the debt of the $207 million loans it obtained in 2015 from China's Export-Import Bank, Exim Bank. But again, China denied this allegation, and since they prefer to keep their business confidential, no one knows if this is true, the depth of it, and how that actually turned out. Moreover, similar cases have been reported in countries like Zambia, Malaysia, Maldives, and others. What is the Chinese government saying about this debt trap allegation? Aside from denying every speculation between them and their debtors, China has maintained that the idea that they are pushing African countries into a debt trap is totally false and a fabricated story. Of course, they would always protect their reputations. According to the Chinese government, lending to African countries is a new Silk Road initiative, which only aims to finance the development of the port, rail, and land infrastructure around the world and holds no hidden agenda. In fact, China has accused Western economies of spreading this myth to harm China's reputation. In their own words, there is not a single country that has fallen into a so-called debt trap as a result of borrowing from China. That is simply not a fact. It is speculation being played out by some with ulterior motives. According to them, they believe this speculation, narratives, and myth are being developed by individuals who oppose African progress. And if there is a trap, it is that of underdevelopment and poverty that is going on in some African countries. To buttress their words, recently, on August 23, 2022, China said that it would cancel 23 interest-free loans to 17 African countries and transfer $10 billion from the IMF reserves to the continent's countries. This was stated by Foreign Minister Wang Yi during the coordinators' meeting to execute the follow-up activities of the Forum on China-Africa Cooperation's 8th Ministerial Summit, FOCAC. According to him, canceling these loans is consistent with Beijing's foreign policy to assist African countries affected by COVID-19 and the global economic crisis. This development may seem to be an interesting one, however, it does not meet well with many critics. Many fault the Chinese for merely saying that they will cancel a certain amount of loan yet refusing to mention the debtor countries that will benefit from this loan cancellation, nor did it mention how such a transfer would be carried out. And that only a small portion of China's funding to Africa consisted of zero-interest loans. Thus, while China conducts this type of debt forgiveness, this does not change the big picture or the huge amount of money African countries are owing China. To sum it up, many believe there are better ways for China to help developing countries instead of pursuing them into borrowing loans that seem harder to pay in the long run. What's your thought on the allegation of debt trap? Do you also believe China is just being helpful to its debtors? Kindly drop your comments and replies in the comment section, and don't hesitate to like and subscribe to our channel if you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching.